Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, that is Jay, and this is the preview for Manchester United versus Newcastle, sponsored by BetMate. We'll get into BetMate in a little bit. Thank you for sponsoring the show. But it's a big game, this one, and for big games you need big players. Let me take you back 12 months. Close your eyes, Jay. Manchester United have just signed Cristiano Ronaldo from Juventus for around £12 million, snatching him from the jaws of Manchester City. He starts against Newcastle at Old Trafford. He scores 2 goals on his debut in arguably the best moment of last season. Everything was downhill after that. We return 12 months later. He's in and out of the team. He can't buy a goal in the Europa League. 1 goal all season. Cristiano Ronaldo is still the talking point at Manchester United.
Can I open my eyes now?
Actually, I'd like it if you kept him close to the rest of the video, if you wouldn't mind.
Really?
No, you can open them.
Thanks. That's better.
What are your memories of that?
Yeah.
And how has your thoughts on Ronaldo changed over the last 12 months?
Ronaldo returning was undoubtedly the highlight of last season for me.
Yeah, same.
You know, that Newcastle game, I was there. It was absolutely rammed. You were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
There's a real sort of, carnival atmosphere for, the second home game of the season. We battered him. Great performance. Yeah. Ronaldo getting a brace. It was just felt great.
Yeah.
And then the season pretty much unravelled in a manner which I think even the most pessimistic of us didn't see coming. Like Ollie getting sacked, getting absolutely battered off our rivals, getting battered off other teams, likes of Leicester and Watford and Brighton, just turning us over. Yeah. Very, very few sort of bright sparks during that season. Ronaldo getting a couple of hat-tricks was some of them,
But even then they were like, obviously amazing to do. It was Tottenham and was the other Norwich. But it was post-Christmas. We knew we probably weren't finishing top 4. It felt like very much sort of slim pickings in terms of to get excited about. But yeah,
a win at home to Norwich, even though Ronaldo gets such a hat trick, isn't the one you tell the grandkids about. No. So it was slim pickings. There was a few moments, a few games. I think it was at West Ham, the late winner against them. Even though the performance was poor, getting a draw in Madrid gave us a little bit of hope. Yeah. But no, it was massively, massively disappointing. And it was the nature of the results as well, the performances, I should say. Sorry, just that looked like it was just down tools. Just didn't look like we were up for it at all.
So obviously, I've been slightly critical of Ronaldo this season because I think he's been not great. I think he's been relatively ineffective. I think that his style doesn't suit Ten Hag's system, unfortunately. And obviously Ten Hag seems to agree because whenever anyone else is fit, they play over Ronaldo. Yeah. Obviously Martial isn't fit at the moment. It looks as though Ronaldo will probably start. But to try and look on the positive side, we've got a few stats here. Thanks to BetMate, they've sent these over. So matches started 1 in the Premier League this season. Subbed appearances in 6 games. So he's only started 1 game in the Premier League. Okay. He's got 1 goal, 6 chances created. Shots per 90 minutes, 5, which is the highest in United squad. Yeah. His expected goals per 90 is 0.39, which again, the highest in United squad. Okay. And obviously 700 career goals. But some of those stats are slightly promising. I mean, it's a very small sample size, and regardless of what your XG is, if you score 1 goal in the league, I can't be that excited. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But maybe there's still an opportunity for him to sort of prove himself, or not prove himself, but show that he's still got it for United. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I feel for Ronnie a little bit because he's 37. Regardless of how much you look after yourself, 37 years old for a striker is very, very old. Yeah. The vast majority of strikers don't play into the late 30s. No. And all this, he doesn't drink and he doesn't sort of eat junk food and all
Never
that
eats
stuff.
Cheese.
Yeah, like that's well and good, but you can't stop yourself from aging, no matter how good you are at football and how much you look after yourself. Yeah. He's still, well past sort of the prime of his physical career. So there's that element that he can do nothing about. There's also, again, another manager, a different system, a system that doesn't probably suit him. And I think, to be fair to him, despite the fact he has to leave or he wanted to leave in the summer, I don't think he's down tools. He has tried when he's been on the pitch, and you can see that the effort's there. And he's also fitted into this role of being a substitute without too much drama. You know, yes, he might be kicking with us behind closed doors, but from what we see, you know, he is happy to do that role, or at least he's doing it. You know, and when he's on the pitch, he's trying. And obviously, Eric Ten Hag can still use him as a substitute. And there's always that little thing in the back of my mind with Ronnie is you can never quite count him out. Sorry,
no, definitely not.
He's just, it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that Cristiano Ronaldo shocked us all and scored 20 goals this season. I doubt it, but it's possible because he's that type of player who. We've been here in the past where people go, you know what, like when he left Real Madrid, this could be the end of him. And he still had something left in him. I know it's, you know, unlikely because he's got that little bit older, like I was saying earlier, but he could still do something. And listen, I was impressed with him at Goodison. He took his goal well. He hasn't had an easy time of it. And it's easy to hate on Ronaldo and dislike him or to criticise him. But let's not forget as well, and I don't think enough is made of this. I think the fact that last season, he was, you know, the one player you could rely on attacking-wise to get you goals. And B, the guy went through a shocking tragedy and came back quite quickly from that. Obviously, his own choice. You know, obviously the club didn't tell him to, because I think even the horribleness that goes on at Manchester United would draw a line at that. And I think, you know, you've got to give him kudos there because it can't have been easy. And yet he came back and performed very well for us. So, you know, I would love to see Cristiano Ronaldo replicating his performance against Newcastle last season, getting a couple of goals. I just think it's unlikely.
Yeah, and I agree. And my only question with him is, as we move on to finishing, I think it's worth pointing out that he is still... He didn't score against Anomaly and he missed a few sitters, especially in that first game. I know he got the goal against Everton, which was very similar actually to the second goal he scored against Newcastle last year, sort of dragging it into his path, you know, left foot across the goalkeeper. But United's finishing against Anomaly the other night and away in Cyprus as well was so poor. So many missed chances. And I think obviously because we scored 3 goals in the first game, we almost forget that we missed another 6 or another 5 good chances. In the home game. It could have been a 7-8, 9-1 game. 9-0 game, sorry. And you couldn't have argued with it in terms of the chances we made. But we just missed so many chances. Do you think that's because there's that sort of 5% drop-off mentality-wise where you're like, well, it's ammonia, so, you know, we'll score eventually? Or do you think there's something to be worried about here that, you know, Ronaldo's not really scoring the goals, Rashford, who is getting in the goals, his form seems to be, you know, up and down in terms of his goal-scoring form. Are you slightly worried about how clinical we are in front of goal? Because chances-wise and possession and control-wise, I think we've been excellent, other than the City game, since Brentford. But it's not always translating into the amount of goals I think United need to be scoring.
No, I agree with that. I am a little bit worried. I was at the game against Anomaly at Old Trafford, and I was thinking, you know, you get away with it against Anomaly. Eventually we got away with it. You don't get away with it against, you know, a Newcastle or a Premier League team. You're not going to get 30-odd chances. 34
shots we had, 13 on target.
I mean, that's
one
just...
goal.
You know, yes, maybe there is a bit of complacency because you're feeling, oh, we'll get a goal eventually. It's only ammonia. Don't worry about it. But we have to be more clinical. And it is good that you see the likes of Marcus Rashford getting chances, because last season he wasn't even getting that. And he has scored a few goals. And we are creating a lot of chances. But we've got to be better than that. Yeah, everyone was going on about Francis Zoa, I think his name is, the keeper for Ammonia. Obviously, you know, he had the time of his life at Big United.
He made.
Yeah, and it was some good saves, but it wasn't where I was looking at going, these are unbelievable saves. How has he got to that?
Yeah.
It was pretty poor finishing. It was saves that most goalkeepers will be able to save. I'm not trying to take away from the kid, because he's obviously had a world in here. I think he was their second choice keeper.
And a United fan.
So he's living his best life. But our finishing should have been better. When you go through on goal, especially Marcus, he had a few chances where he was through and you think, you've got to score that. And that is a little bit concerning, because you might only get 3 or 4 chances in the Premier League. And if you're not taking them, then that's going to cost you. So we do need to be more clinical. Yes, it's good we are creating chances. And yes, it's good that the likes of Marcus Rashford in particular, and even Martial when he's featured, have been getting amongst the goals. But you've got to be better at converting your chances, because, you know, not everyone is going to be as generous as Ammonia.
Hopefully that can be a bit of a wake-up call as well, because I think United's XG was like 4.15. And to only score 1 goal off the back of that, when generally top players outscore their XG, because they're, you know, that's an average for all sort of professional players or players of that level. So like you'd think the likes of Ronaldo and Rashford and maybe Anthony as well would be able to sort of get 5 or 6 goals out of 4 XG, let alone 1. So hopefully that was almost like an anomaly, where you can go, right, they've got their bad finishing out of the way, now we can sort of move on to being a bit more consistent, because it was startlingly wasteful against Anomaly, wasn't it? And the thing is, I think in the Premier League it's not been like that so much, which is some comfort at least. I think it must be a mentality thing. Like, are you expecting that same level of complacency against Newcastle?
Not really, no. I think that in the Premier League we seem to have a sense of urgency. We seem to be up for it, and we've battled in certain games. And other than the sort of the first 2 games and the City game, I think we've done well. We've got those wins deservedly for me. I think Leicester, Southampton, the Everton game, and obviously Liverpool and Arsenal as well. Those are games where we've had the quality and we've dug deep when we needed to dig deep. I don't think we've fluked it or anything. I think we've been good value for our wins. Some of them we've had to sort of be defensively a bit more solid. Others we've had to just sort of hit them on the break and take our chances when we've got them. But we've done those things, and I expect us. I hope so. Anyway, we'll be more like that against Newcastle. A little bit more clinical, a little bit more urgency to us as well, because you're not going to get 30 odd chances against Newcastle. And this, let's not forget as well. We turned Newcastle over last season at Old Trafford, but even when we went to St James's, you could see the improvements were there. This season especially, I think the one place behind us in the Premier League, they're having a good season. They've got real quality there, and they've got real belief as well in what Eddie Howe's trying to do. So it is going to be difficult. And, if we get 3 or 4 chances against Newcastle, you've got to take at least one of them.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to predicted 11s then. I'll say it straight away. We've gone for the same team here.
Yeah.
Like, independent of each other, we've both put the same team in. And I think this is the second time this has happened in 3 Premier League previews, where we've both said it almost certainly will be this.
Yeah.
And other than maybe, I think you could maybe see Anthony for Sancho just because of the effect he had on the game at Ammonia. But I don't think so. I think it's almost certainly going to be that 11, don't you?
100%. I think there was... The question is, just at the time recording this, we've heard that Martial might feature.
Yeah.
But because...
Well, they might be available.
It might be available.
Yeah.
Is he going to start? I'm not so sure that Ten Hag would want to risk throwing him in, especially after what happened at Goodison. Luke Shaw seems to have got himself back in the picture. Malacia obviously started against Ammonia, but was subbed again, which is, I think, the 3rd time in the last 3 starts he's been subbed. And we expect Varane to be fit again as well. And the rest of the team, McTominay's suspended, so there's no debate there about him and Casemiro. And even if he wasn't, I think Casemiro would start. Yeah. I just don't think you need to overthink it. And I think one of the sort of points that Ten Hag was making about the Ammonia game was he picked a strong team because he wants to keep that sort of that rhythm and that consistency where the team are used to each other, they're used to the way he wants to play, and even the games that on paper anyway look a lot easier. So yeah, I'd be very surprised if this team changed. Maybe he might go with a Malacia. Maybe he might think Varane could do with another week and stick with Lindelof, but again, it's doubtful.
Yeah, and like you said, I think we're still at the point where we're trying to build a team that knows how to play together, and the more minutes they play, the more quickly they will gel and become the team that Ten Hag wants them to be. So I don't think he thinks we're ready to rotate, massively.
It was annoying to me the other day that we had to bring on Eriksen again.
Yeah,
because you think, for Christ's sake, just give the kid a rest. And I'm not arguing why we did. I think we needed him.
Yeah.
But it's just frustrating that no matter what at the minute, it's just like we have to play Christian Eriksen. Even when we're playing a team ranked 242nd in the world, we can't give him the night off.
There's part of me that thinks that just that midfield that we've been running with for the last 2 years, McTominay and Fred, and Bruno to a lesser extent, because obviously some of the numbers he's put up have been ridiculous, but those two, in any kind of format, just are not good enough to break teams down. Like, when you think what a midfield has to do, a midfield has to win the ball back, it has to transition the ball from your defence to your attack, and it occasionally has to pop up with assistance, through balls, incisive passing out to the wings. It has to do all of those things. That's why it's the centre of the pitch. That's why it's the most important part of the area of the field. McTominay and Fred can't do any of the last 2/3 of the things I just mentioned there. They can pick the ball up from the defence sometimes. They can win the ball back, but they can't play those incisive balls through. They can't create from deep. It's like you almost realise with Eriksen coming in, a free transfer who, by the sound of it, Tottenham wanted him and then didn't even want him. They sort of pulled out. It was us versus Brentford for Christian Eriksen, has revolutionised United's midfield almost single-handedly, and now you've got Casemiro bringing that in as well in the last couple of games. It makes you realise just how many different skill sets we were lacking with Scott McTominay and Fred as our midfield pivot. It was ridiculous, really, that we've been playing that almost non-stop for 3 years. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous.
We were talking about when we were linked with Milinkovic-Savic again.
Yeah.
And we were saying on the Paddock Live, me and you, I think you'd be surprised if he came in because he's not. I don't think he's that amazing.
No.
I think he's a good midfielder. But there's a part of me thinking that if he came in, he might be at a level where you go, because of what we're used to, actually, this is a step up. Yeah. Here's a guy that can create things, who can, you know what I mean, get box to box, who can sort of, you know, help turn defence into attack and who can get amongst the goals when you need him to. And I think there's an element of that with Eriksen. It's like, yes, he's good. He's very good. But also, we've been a bit, you know, the opposite, spoiled in terms of our midfield, where we've had to sort of clutch at straws a little bit and you go, oh, somebody was great against Leeds in previous seasons. I know he's had a good season. Or Fred's been great under Ralph Rangnick when he had that sort of 6 or 7 game spell. And you think, actually, most of these players and their performances wouldn't be good enough for other teams that have ambitions of challenging at the very top. And, you know, they're probably not at the levels that we need at times.
Like when you think of City's sort of, I know they have rotation, but when you think of Rodri, Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, they're the sort of the main 4 that will get sort of rotated through in that central midfield. In terms of the ball playing ability there, in terms of the ability to keep the ball and create chances from midfield, it is so far above Fred, McTominay, Bruno, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like we've got 2 players in Fred and McTominay that are doing the role of Rodri by himself, and Rodri is also a better passer than both of them put together.
Yeah.
Like that's the level we need to be getting to. I'm not happy to just scrape 4th every season. If we want to beat City, we've got to be better than them.
Yeah.
And at the minute or before, we were so far behind that it almost is laughable now that you think, like you said, against Cyprus's 4th best team, we still need Christian Eriksen to come off the bench to help sort of, you know, put a sort of a jolt of electricity into that midfield to actually give us some creative outlet. It's frightening, really, how long it took us to get Eriksen and Casemiro in that team. Anyway, let's have a look at the opposition a little bit. Newcastle with a decent start to the season. I think sort of picking up as well last couple of games. I think 4-1 and 5-0 in their last couple of games. So good result, 4-1 and 5-1 perhaps. Good results for them. Now starting to score goals as well. They've got the equal, I think, best defence in the league so far. No one's conceded less than Newcastle. So they're a team that is definitely, you need to worry about them again. For the first time pretty much since 2012, the sort of Johan Cabaye, Alan Pardew era, Newcastle are a worrying good team again, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they've been in decent form. I've seen them a couple of times this season. They look good. Obviously, the new signings have worked. Eddie Howe's done a good job there. I wasn't a big fan of Eddie Howe at Bournemouth. No. I thought he was overrated. I know everyone loved him and so he did a great job, but I thought, you know, they spent money. I know they didn't spend loads of money, but they spent money and some of it they wasted. Yeah. And I always thought it was a bit like, he's all right. He's, you know, he's not that great and obviously ended up getting relegated. I know that obviously they didn't have the kind of resources that a lot of teams have in the Premier League, but he's done a very good job there. I think he's been an ideal managerial appointment for them because they needed someone who could come in, steady it and move them forward, and that's what he's done. And it's not easy when you've got a team, you inherit a team that's struggling. Even if you've got money to spend, it's not easy to always get that right. We've seen teams spend loads of money and end up still struggling relegation.
QPR.
He's not, yeah, exactly. He's not only, you know, last season obviously got him out of any sort of slight inkling of relegation he got him away from. This season they've been challenging even at the top end of the table and playing some good football as well. They've got some entertaining players. I think Alexander Isaac is out against us, isn't he? He's been a big player for them. Obviously a good signing. They've got 1 or 2 others. They've got players as well that can be a little bit inconsistent, but on the day, you know, look at like St. Maximin. On his day, he's amazing. Yeah, he can be a little bit wasteful. So I'm just hoping that those inconsistent players have an off day. Yeah,
Bruno Guimaraes is one who has been arguably their best player this season. I think midfield, getting on the score sheet as well. That kind of all-action, number 8, box-to-box kind of player. 2 goals, 1 assist in 6 matches started the season, which, again, for a number 8, pretty good stuff. I think he scored recently as well. 11 chances created, 9 tackles, 1, 5 interceptions. He's just a good player that was highly rated before he went there. Newcastle kind of snapped him up in January, didn't they? For relatively good money. It was like 35 million, 40 million for, you know, a player that was as promising as he was. He's someone that I think a lot of teams would have been looking out for but didn't manage to get. So I think he's one to watch out for, definitely. This show is sponsored by BetMate, and this week we are bringing you a pot featuring all of... what?
So it's not just United and Newcastle this week.
It's all of Sunday's 2 p.m. games,
This is what I like to see.
Do you know what I mean? You can pick from like fucking loads of different teams. That includes United versus Newcastle, Leeds versus Arsenal, Chelsea versus Villa, and Southampton West Ham.
Just mouth-watering, smorgasbord of fixtures there.
Yeah, and if you don't know what BetMate is a fantasy football app where you play against the other people in that pot. If you pick the better team, better players, you will win money. This pot that we are doing this week is only £2 to enter, and you can win a share of £400. And it's a bit different to the usual ones. You can only pick 2 players from each team. Usually it's 6.
Yep.
This week it's only 2 from each team. And this way, you get to pick, and you have to pick a bit more variety. Because normally we just go, 6 United players and then one other player that we have to
That's all I do every week.
So we should bring our teams up, and we'll talk a bit more about
Yeah, go on, bring your BetMate team up.
So let's have a look at these bad boys. Here's your team, Jay. Talk us through that.
I've gone with Mendy in goal because I just think he's someone who can get a clean sheet against Aston Villa. Kieran Trippier, I know that's a bit of a funny one because he's playing against us, but he's been very effective this season.
Yeah.
So if Newcastle had to get, not even necessarily any points out of the game, but if they could get a goal or whatever, he might have a say in it because I know he's involved in dead balls and stuff like that. Koulibaly, another one at Chelsea. I think they'll do well against Villa. So I've gone with a couple of their players. Bruno speaks for himself because with the BetMate, sponsored by powered by the Opta Stats as well, so you get things for like points for interceptions and stuff like that. Bruno has a lot to his all-round game this season. He gets involved in tackles, he gets involved in assists, he gets involved
against
in
Everton. He didn't get an assist, but he tackled
chances.
And won the ball back to get that ball to Anthony in the end.
See what I mean? Yeah. So there's a lot to him where he can get you points there. Odegaard, he's one of the few Arsenal players that I really rate. I know they're doing well this season, but him and the other Arsenal player I rate, who I didn't at first, but after I admit he's done very well, is Gabriel Jesus. So them two are in. And Marcus. The reason I got with Marcus rather than Ronaldo or Martial is just because I think it's nailed on he'll start. Where I'm not 100% sure that Martial won't come back in or that Rashford won't start. So I went with Marcus Rashford, who this season has done well. He was very unlucky at Goodison Park not to get a goal because I thought that one that got choked off was very harsh.
We've got very similar teams.
Again.
Spookily similar. I've gone Kepa because I think he'll start over Mendy because Mendy's been a bit silly this season. I mean, it could go the other way. That's the thing. When you've got 2 goalkeepers that both cost you 60 million quid,
the thing with that
it's hard to drop either.
On this, you can change your team right up until kickoff.
So once you find out who's in the net, one of us is going to be changing.
Yeah.
So I've gone Koulibaly as well. I've gone Kera for West Ham because I think they might just have a shout of a clean sheet against Southampton. Then we've gone Odegaard as well, Fernandes, Rashford, but I've gone Martinelli. Because I think Jesus, he's probably due a goal, but last couple of games for Arsenal, he's looked more like a player that wants to sort of roll around on the floor and be hard done to. Oh, I've been fouled again.
Worked for him, not it?
It has worked for him, but also
that penalty he got against Thiago for when he played the Scousers was just ridiculous.
But I think he's almost relying on being this sort of, the martyr. Oh, I'll do it. But really, I think it's Martinelli and Saka that are driving that forward line. So I've gone with Martinelli instead, and then Rashford put him as captain as well.
Good stuff. I get that, and obviously you can sign up for that using the code. I think it's Paddock 5. Yeah. There's a link in the description. Yeah. And if you enter the pot, we're playing or any other pot, you'll receive a £5 free bet. Obviously, you got to make sure you're over the age of 18 and you are gambling responsibly. Terms and conditions do apply.
Yeah, exactly. So just enter our pot or any other paid pot and you will get a £5 free bet using the code Paddock5 when you sign up. The link is in the description. Make sure you go and check out BetMate. Thank you again for sponsoring the show. I'm going to ask you about your score prediction, Jay. I need to know what the fucking hell's going to happen in this one. Come on. You've been there. You've seen it. Terminator 2 style. You've gone to the future. You just explained the whole plot of Terminator 1 and 2 to me just before we went live.
I did, and you were doing your best to try and just ask silly questions about John Connor. Is that the guy that used to play tennis against John McEnroe? Yeah. No. Sarah Connor. Is that the girl that used to be the governor of Alaska? And despite all that nonsense, I tried my best to explain why I think the plot of Terminator is deeply flawed.
Someone's going to find your crushed face under a pile of rubble in a minute if you don't give me a score prediction.
Right, okay, that's fair enough, reasonable. I think this stinks of a draw,
Oh,
I do.
United haven't drawn all season.
I've got a horrible feeling this might just be a 1-1. Yeah. We used to love a 1-1, didn't we? I hope I'm wrong, obviously.
Do you remember how many 0-0s and 1-1s we had under Rangnick? That was all we did every week.
Now we
refuse
when we went
to
away.
draw.
Other than losing every away game for the last 6 weeks.
Great point. But typically, he loved a 1-1.
I'd tell you what, I'd have loved a 1-1 away from home last season.
I like that about Ten Hag. And United and Newcastle are almost on opposite trajectories this season. So I think Newcastle have won 3, drawn 5, lost 1.
Yeah.
United have won 5, lost 3, draw none.
Yeah.
There was a point where Tottenham, they used to be known for like never drawing, didn't they?
Yeah.
Do you remember? And like United have taken up that mantle now.
Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. Sooner or later, we're going to draw. Yeah. I hope if we do draw, it's like a last-minute equaliser away from home against, Liverpool or something, not at home to Newcastle.
I know everyone knows this, but obviously inside it doesn't quite feel the same. But winning 2, losing 1 is more points than winning 1, drawing 1, losing.
I know you say that and people go, no shit, Sherlock, but it's a good point.
Or winning 1, drawing 2.
Sometimes you forget that, don't
you? You can go 3 games unbeaten and have less points than winning 2 and drawing.
Everton went like a month and a half unbeaten.
Yeah.
And they've got like 5 points.
Yeah, exactly. Like you've just drawn every single game. Have you seen that team?
How's that possible?
I can't remember which league it's in, but I think it's in Brazil, and they're second in the league.
Yeah.
And they've scored 6 goals in 10 games.
Right.
Because they've won like 6 games, lost the rest.
Yeah.
But they've not conceded in 10 and scored 6.
So that sounds like 6, Preston have done something similar. Preston conceded like 6 goals all season.
They're second in the league and they've scored 6 goals in 10 games.
Yeah,
but that's the thing.
It's mad.
You don't lose.
It's exciting times at United. Yeah. Sometimes I wish they were less exciting.
I hate draws.
But we are one of those teams that's either beating everyone or losing.
I fucking won't have it any other way, Jay. Fuck draws. I hate draws. Draws means you didn't try hard enough to win. That's all I say.
Bit harsh, but fair enough.
Nah, fuck it. Right, that's all for us. Thank you very much to BetMate for sponsoring the show today. Make sure you check them out. The link is in the description. Use the code Paddock5 as well when you sign up, and then enter any paid pot to get a free £5 bet with BetMate. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jay, for joining us. Where can people find you?
You can find me on this channel as well and on Scotty and Monty Podcast, so check me out on either of those 2 platforms.
Scotty and Monty Podcast, thank you very much for joining us. Hit subscribe to Stretford Paddock if you haven't already. We'll be here for the watch-along on Sunday. It's a bit of a sloppy Joe's fest, actually.
Yeah.
It's me, Joe McGrath, and we've got Ethan on as well, resident Newcastle fan, to give us the opposition view for the watch-along. Going to be good stuff.
This channel's got the dogs. I mean, Newcastle fans on it.
What's your idea,
Who's thought of that? What loser came up with that one?
You.
Aye. Right. Okay, in that case, I love that idea. Great stuff.
Oh, score prediction.
I'll just give it you 1-1.
All right.
You never listen to me anymore, do you?
All right, Jay, my score prediction.
Yeah.
The one that really matters. 2-0 Manchester United. Thank you very much for joining us. See you in a bit.